Thank you so much for having me here today. And I look forward to having some conversations later on. Uh, so, as Jeff mentioned, my name is Stacey Wedlake. I use she, her pronouns, and I am here to talk about some work that I did with the city of Seattle around looking at kind of digital skills frameworks. And so before I get started, I did just want to do a brief land acknowledgement. So I currently reside in lands that are called Seattle, currently called Seattle, but I wanted to acknowledge that I'm standing on the ancestral homelands of those who have walked here before me and those that still walk here, where Native peoples identify as Duwamish, Snoquamish, Snoqualmie, and Puyallup, as well as the tribes of the Muckleshoot, Tulalip, and other Coast Salish peoples and their descendants. This land acknowledgement is one small act in the ongoing process of working toward a good relationship with the land and the peoples of the land. And then before I get too much into the work, I did just want to take a few moments to kind of lift up the people that also helped me with this work, because as I mentioned, this is a collaboration. And so when we originally did this work, I had the pleasure of working with a master's student, Kara Lothan, who at the time was at the College of Ed and Evans School of Public Policy and Governance. And then Chris Coward, who is the director of TASCHA, also really helped shape the project. And then this work came from the city of Seattle, and specifically David Keys, who is the digital equity program manager at Seattle IT. Oops, so sorry. And really, he's the one that kind of came to us with this idea, and he also helped shape the work quite a bit with his knowledge and expertise. And so this project kind of came out as an offshoot of the City of Seattle's Digital Equity Initiative. And so the city has this kind of vision. They see, that they want to, work towards creating a city where technology's opportunities equitably empower all residents and communities, especially those who are historically underserved or underrepresented. And the city has kind of 4 sort of strategies that they see to reach this vision. So skills training, connectivity, devices and technical support, and then applications and online services. And so the city kind of thinks about those strategies and supports those strategies through funding and policy. And the city has been doing this work for over 20 years now, has really kind of seen as a leader in this space. So, before, probably some of you around, these ideas of like community technology centers, and now the city works a lot with, out of this particular kind of office, with organizations, community groups, public libraries that are doing this work supporting people's connectivity needs. And so let me back up. So one of the things that the reason why this work came about, and with David and I started talking, was that they work a lot with these organizations, and the organizations are coming, to this, the city as part of like funding and saying, I'm not, people have like these certain kind of goals. They come to me wanting to know kind of computers and technology skills, but I'm not totally sure kind of what we should be teaching, or that the city itself was not sure kind of how to, organizations again would kind of be coming to them with some ideas around technology trainings. And again, the city was trying to figure out kind of like, well, what should we be kind of encouraging? What kind of skills do people need? And so, so that's when we started talking with us. And so we decided then to take a look at kind of existing kind of curriculum. That was kind of the first step. Well, that was kind of David's idea. Was some of the idea was looking at curriculum, and then we kind of wanted to think about also looking at frameworks. So that there are a lot of digital skills, digital literacy frameworks and curriculum that are out there. And this was also another problem that community orgs were having, is that they would see all these different curriculum and like online, and they wanted to use and adapt. I'm like, well, what do we choose? Like, what is going to be the best to help the people that we're serving? And so, so we took a look at, and so this is a framework that came, representation that came from this digital skills framework from the UK, which I have liked the approach here. And, you know, and so the frameworks are going to meant to be more this global and kind of holistic and more adaptive to changing technology versus the curriculum that, you know, maybe more kind of specific to this, you know, particular, you know, instance of Word or so on. So, so we really were hoping to kind of be able to find some frameworks and see what curriculum is linked to those frameworks. And well, when we took a look at, did our work, we did a big review, and you know, we found frameworks. We didn't find a lot of curriculum that actually tied back to those specific frameworks. The curriculum oftentimes seemed to be developed sort of independently than all these very robust, detailed frameworks that have been developed. So, and there are some like DigComp, like, so our work group does a lot of work internationally, and DigComp is framework from the EU, very popular, but hasn't, you know, made much headway here in the States. But so anyway, so we have all these frameworks, all these curriculum, and going back to thinking about like, how do we know what kind of skills are covered in these different things? Like, how can you compare them? Again, thinking back to this, you know, people are trying to use curriculum out of the box, you know, like, how do I know which one is the right one for what people need? So we did a kind of systematic review of these different pieces, and did a kind of tried to compare them, create a way to compare them. And something I should mention, that the to help narrow what curriculum we were looking at, we tried to find curriculum that was targeted for an like set up for an instructor to be teaching. And so we kind of left off ones that are more of like kind of just these sort of dumps of like step-by-steps, or really meant to seem like that somebody was supposed to take them by themselves. So that's kind of what we tried to do. Again, thinking about kind of who the audience was here. So we went through, we tried to, you know, we created these, you know, different kind of skills and competencies, and then kind of plop them in kind of a larger skill categories. And so this is a screen capture of our kind of our spreadsheet, which you can access on our website, and to see kind of how we did this. And it was an iterative process. We kind of constantly kind of tweaking and adding skills as we went. I do just also want to make sure it's clear that this is, you know, this is sort of an inventory, where we weren't saying, you know, that this curriculum, their approach is the way to go, or you know, so just clearly inventory. And what we ended up with is kind of these 10 sort of kind of skill buckets, categories. And so going back to kind of something that Jeff mentioned, so again, trying to think about the audiences that these organizations are working for. So, you know, if, you know, somebody is, you know, is wanting to learn technology to be able to communicate and stay connected with family and friends, you know, then, you know, they can focus on those gateway beginner skills and communication. You know, they don't need, and like privacy. They don't need to spend time learning the workplace skills and learning, you know, potentially, you know, all this productivity software if they really don't have a need for it. So this is kind of one way that we, you know, that practitioners can use this, is they can look and see what kind of curriculum covers what, and and pick and choose based on needs here. Although some things that we did find kind of interesting doing these inventories, that we looked for, you know, a lot of these curriculum are really targeted at this idea of these like lab-based classes, learning how to use a laptop, learning how to use a computer. And so there's not a lot of talk or touching upon things like using mobile devices, devices that people are already using and may have already familiarity with, or building upon those at all. This review was done in 2018. So again, some of this may change, and especially now, I think everyone's sort of kind of rethinking kind of approaches to teaching right now, since most of us still can't sit down in a big computer lab and walk people through lessons. This is very messy graph for a presentation, but this is to give you kind of an idea of sort of the, the variations in skill coverage from the different types in different curriculum. And this particular chart I oriented based on number of gateway skills. And so you can see that there's this, which ones of these are, kind of cover some of these more beginner ones and some of these less. What I also do really like to pick on Google, because at the time they did not have any privacy and security like lessons in their curriculum, which I found interesting and sort of sad. And so again, this is again, having this understanding of what is covered in these. So if you were needing to pick up like Mozilla, for example, and maybe Mozilla curriculum is not really the best kind of choice for some, if your audience is, needs more beginner, you'll need something to supplement more beginner, because Mozilla has a lot of really great things about creating on the web. And so if somebody has those kind of wants and aspirations, then that's great for that, but less for, the beginner users will need more support. So, and so lots and lots more detail available in our reports and on our website on all of this, and we can talk more during Q&A. But I wanted to share a little bit about how, how this has been used since we published in early 2019. So the city kind of immediately kind of took this and started putting it into practice, using it as a jumping off point to have discussions with, the organizations they work with that do digital literacy instruction. They created, I think, like a couple of different kind of worksheets, like creating like a kind of a skills checklist that, that people can kind of use for their own curriculum to kind of see what's covered and what's not. And then the city also was using this kind of as a reference for, again, as I talked about earlier, about kind of where investments should go, and kind of again help, a way to kind of evaluate what kind of curriculum that organizations are proposing, and kind of deciding like kind of which projects to fund and which to not. And then this has been more recently kind of used as kind of some foundational documents for this digital skills assessment pilot that is just about to get underway. And so this pilot is, I did some additional research for this, working with the city. We also, for this work, worked with the city's Office of Economic Development. And so the idea was kind of working with the economic development and then other workforce development organizations and some other kind of ABE instructors, and thinking about, and this kind of was all happening kind of in the midst of the pandemic. And so there was this kind of idea behind like having some sort of kind of uniform sort of, digital skills assessment that can be adapted based on the different organizations and use cases, and it's a way to kind of try to better understand kind of where, it could be used in a few different ways. Of one of like trying to see if somebody's coming in for service and seeing kind of what are these sort of basic skills that people are needing in order to be able to kind of work remotely and to move across these different agencies. And again, so then this way, again, the idea is this could be kind of aggregated across, or if people can come and if they've got, they start working with one organization and then they get referred over, then, this is some of the things that are going to be worked out. This information can somehow travel with them, et cetera. So, but what I did for part of this is I kind of took a closer look at digital skills assessments. And I think probably a lot of you know that there's kind of, there's not tons out there. And what these organizations needed really was really focusing on these kind of these beginning gateway skills. And so I took a look at some of these different kind of different assessments and frameworks and really focusing in on those beginner skills. And what ended up happening is we kind of adapted 11 skills from the Northstar basics and email assessments. And so things like, locating a camera on your device, being able to, log out of email, these types of things. So again, these extremely beginner skills that people need. And so, this skills list is going to be adapted and used as performance-based assessments in some organizations. Some organizations are already doing performance-based digital skills assessments as incorporated in their work, and so they'll kind of adapt and use kind of our set. And some organizations have started trying using Northstar, and so it'll kind of be this kind of combination of the two. And so that's going to be, we kind of did the background research and discussion and agreement this past year, and then to start this coming year, there's going to be when the pilot's going to be going. So kind of longer term opportunities I see, so my research was really looking at kind of what was already in these curricula and frameworks, but I think, there needs to be some more investigation about what skills are missing, what skills are not being taught, either, promoted in these kind of more formal curriculum, or kind of what's getting skipped. So things like identifying misinformation. A lot of the curriculum did talk about information seeking skills, but it was kind of the more sort of traditional approaches, and really doing some more look at things like, are people understanding how the internet works, especially in regards to algorithms and how it influences what people see. There was just a news story about how, yet again, Facebook is, allowing companies to, you see different job ads on Facebook depending on what your sex is, which of course is illegal. But again, so people understand that this is something that's happening behind the scenes of Facebook. And then, of course, I think another thing, kind of further integration, is, looking at the privacy and understanding privacy and surveillance. I think, again, another piece is connecting adult education practitioners, adult basic education, more with digital inclusion organizations that are doing this work. I know, adult education in more formal institutions is doing tons of digital literacy work. And then you have all these, and then you have a lot of nonprofit organizations that are kind of working kind of outside this, more that are more community based. And from my perspective, that's a little bit more in that, not the community group digital inclusion practitioner world. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of cross. We could all benefit from more collaboration and connection. And then I think, and then another question is so further understanding what organizations, individuals that actually teach digital literacy, what do they need? What supports would help them be able to meet their client or participant needs, and whether it's something that's as simple as as need more language translations, or support for resources that are tailored to English language learners. And of course, there's lots of other things, but I decided to keep it to 3. And so that's all I have for today. I just wanted to thank you again. I look forward to answering some questions and engaging in conversation with you all. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me afterwards as well. And yeah, I'd love to connect. Thank you so much.